How you doing, Elizabeth? Rita, hello. Lisa, how you doing? Susan? Chad, how's it going? LSU wins. Huh. Give it a couple more seconds here, guys, and we'll get started. Got a few more coming in. Lisa, how you doing? Georgia. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Swampwatch, 12/7/19. Uh, I'm going to start tonight um, kind of covering something that I talked a little bit about last night, but from a little bit different perspective. Because it is one of the most contentious issues in religion today, at least in America. Um, the main thing I want to cover is false prophets. The Bible warns us, especially in times like this, they're going to come out of the woodwork. Um, it. I've been doing this, as most of you know, for over 5 years now. Where I was, see if I can explain this better. Since I was 12 years old, I've known that things weren't right. I mostly kept those thoughts to myself until I was called by God to speak out. But I've always, believed in God, believed in our Constitution, the rule of law, the basis of our country, really. It's based on the Bible and the Constitution. That's what sets us apart. The problem becomes when man gets in the middle of this stuff and tries to pervert it for his benefit instead of mankind's benefit or God's message. Uh, so I'm going to talk about the rapture in that context because it's probably the most understood Christian concept there is right now. And I say Christian because it's being taught as part of Christianity. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of that because I think it's important. And the reason that I've talked about this at all is that the last 5 years, my number one objection from Christians is that they don't need to get prepared for what's coming because they're going to be raptured. God's going to take care of them. They don't need to get food and water, silver, Litecoin, ammo. Here's the problem with that thought process. First off, I've never said that we were in the tribulation, that we were at the end times. God has never shown me that. I've made that very clear. So we could be just talking about here the worldwide financial collapse and the draining of the swamp. That's not going to, if the rapture is real, that's not going to trigger the rapture. So you could put your family in harm's way because you've got your blinders on. That's the first problem. The second problem is the rapture concept outright. The thing that amazes me is how many people believe in the rapture but cannot tell me when it started, where it came from. And it's to me, this is very simple. And the other thing is, most Christians don't even know where the Bible came from. So I'm going to start at the beginning. The Bible as we know it today was put together at the Council of Nicaea in Constantinople in the year 331 AD. So over 300 years after Christ died, Jesus died on the cross, they assembled all the different writings, and then they met and they determined at this Council of Nicaea what books were going to be put into the Bible. So you've got now basically Catholics, which are responsible for the New Testament, and Jews, who are responsible for the Old Testament. I was raised Catholic. Went to parochial school, was an altar boy. I took a course in college on the history of the Bible, taught by a rabbi who used to teach the Bible to Jews and Christians. No one in the Catholic or Jewish religions has ever taught the rapture. Most people don't realize that the rapture was not taught anywhere on earth until 1831, I think it was. John Darby from England, 1831, is the first one to ever suggest the rapture. So basically 1800 years, for 1500 if you want to count from when the Bible was actually put together, assembled. But you've had 2,000 years, 1800 plus years of Christianity where the rapture was never taught. How does that get to be one of the main precepts of what most people consider Christianity by someone who had nothing to do with the Bible or the content of the Bible. You would think if they were going to make a change almost 2,000 years later, it would come from the people who were responsible for the book, wouldn't you? It should have come from a Jew or a Catholic, but it didn't. It's, to me, if you were going to try and make it harder on people, wouldn't you think this would be a great way if you wanted to really stick it to the people? If we're talking now about, my theory is that this was instituted by the satanic pedophiles who are running the Vatican, who are running the royal family, who include several former U.S. presidents, that has been here since Babylon. That if you were those people and you wanted to stick it to the regular common man, they knew there were going to be people like me at times like this warning the world. What better way to screw humanity than to convince them, oh yeah, there's going to be bad things happening, but don't worry about it. God's going to take care of you. It's think it through, guys. Use your heads. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about having an open mind. And here's the thing. I'm not saying 100%. I mean, I don't truly believe it. I would say it's a possibility, maybe. To me, it's irrelevant. That's the one thing, if the way that I was taught, you live your life the right way, when you die, you're going to heaven. It's pretty plain and simple. It's not complicated. The people who are trying to manipulate the system want to make it more complicated so they can get their angles in and they'll have less resistance. But if you think about it, doesn't that make more sense than, oh, well, Jesus really wanted to talk about it, but he forgot? And then this guy 1,800 years later decides, oh, well, Jesus missed this, so I'm gonna catch everybody up. Think about it. It's asinine. And here's the point. First of all, you have the big problem, if you're going to believe in the rapture, is of the timing of it. Look at how many horrific events have happened in the last 2,000 years. You got the First World War, you got the Second World War, you've got all of the, oh my God, the terror, the fear, the murder, the atrocities that have occurred over the last 2,000 years. You got to be prepared for these things. God says, no man knows the day or time, paraphrasing. So, when we do come to the end times, nobody's going to really know for sure. It could be a year off. It could be 20 years off from when you maybe think it's coming. God never showed me that we were in the end times. He showed me to get people prepared. Almost when I started, I've got Christians telling me, oh, no, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I'm going to be raptured. No sweat. I'm telling you guys, from just common sense, from all the years that I've been studying this stuff, all the hours I have in on this stuff, I just don't see it. And you can't point to anything in the last 2,000 years that, and trust me, I've had this argument for, I don't know, 40 years with different people. And not one person in 40 years has ever brought me anything. And the thing is, most of them don't know anything about it. They know what their minister told them. That's what they know. They've never done any research. They don't know about the Council of Nicaea. They don't know how the Bible was really created, who actually put it together. That's amazing to me. They don't know that John Darby in 1831 was the first one to ever talk about the rapture. And they want to point to some obscure verses and say that's what it is. Well, if that's what it was, why weren't the Catholics and Jews teaching that for 2,000 years? It makes no sense, guys. It's probably the easiest thing to rationalize and to analyze when we're talking about the Bible, because it's really outside the Bible. So there are going to be, I believe this 100%, there are going to be a lot of things like the rapture that we find out that the reality isn't exactly what we've been taught. You have to keep an open mind. You have to use your critical thinking skills going through this process. Blindly, this is what the left does. Put the blinders on and I'm not going to listen because that's not what my minister told me. False prophets. And it's not me. I've said, I've heard of the rapture. Yeah, I know what the rapture, I know what people say it is. It's no different to me. When I die, I'm going to heaven. If I do the right things, if I live my life the right way, which I believe I have, I've got no fear about where I'm going. To me, I don't get the concept, honestly. I don't understand. You think you're going to survive or you're not going to have to go through a little bit of pain and suffering? I mean, hey, trust me, guys. If a meteorite, 1,000 miles wide hits the earth, none of us are going to have to worry about the rapture, because we're all going to be in the place we're going in an instant when it happens, with maybe no warning at all. How different is that from the rapture? You're not going to feel any pain. It's going to be instantaneous. That's why I just don't get it, guys. Maybe it was because growing up Catholic and we don't. I guess that's what gets me the most is you got people that didn't even write the book who are trying to tell the people that did what it says. False prophets. Listen, if I'm wrong, there's no harm, right? If there is a rapture and you've lived your life the right way, you will be raptured. I just don't see it. The bigger point here is, and why I'm hitting this again, is because I had members talking to me today, and it was scary to hear just the absoluteness of their convictions without really wanting to get into it. They couldn't, there's no, like I said, there's nothing you can show that proves the rapture because it's not there. It was never taught by Jesus. It was never taught by the people who wrote the book. So how do you come up with it? And when you understand that it wasn't taught in any church in the world until 1831, tell me how you could believe that's the Word of God. Because I don't see it. And I've spent a lot of time looking at it. So now, if I'm wrong, show me. Don't tell me it's because it's in the Bible, because it's not. You have an interpretation from somebody in 1831 that says it's in the Bible. Give me a fact. Like I've always said, I don't want you guys to believe anything I tell you. Prove me wrong. Don't come back and tell me, well, I just don't believe it. Bring me some evidence. I think people are going to find out everything that I have been saying for the last 5 years is going to be pretty much to the T what happens over the next 5 years. And the beautiful thing about this is there's no gray area here because we have over 400 hours now of live chats where I've been talking about all of this stuff. So it's either going to happen or it's not. We're talking about the first ever worldwide economic collapse. We're talking about the draining of the worldwide swamp. We're talking about the satanic pedophilia being exposed to the world and eradicated. We're talking about Litecoin going through the roof. We're talking about physical silver going through the roof. We're talking about carbon 60 and the benefits to that. Write it all down. Start in 6 months. You start looking at the things I've been saying and what comes true, because everything that I've been talking about is on the verge of happening. And it's really clear to the people who have been listening to me because they can see it now too. So trust me when I tell you, one of the most important things to your survival is keeping an open mind, using your critical thinking skills. Use your heads. Don't believe something blindly. Analyze, investigate, search out the facts. Ask me if you have questions, if there's something else that is throwing you. And listen, it's not that I don't make mistakes, because I make mistakes. The timing is the hardest thing, and I've been wrong on the timing a lot. But so has everybody. Not an excuse, it's the way it is. But as far as the things that are coming, I think you're going to find out. I'm going to nail every single one of them. And again, it's not me. God has put me on this path. We're at the crossroads of man's greatest age. The biggest changes. We're going to see more change in the next 5 years than the world has seen in the last 50,000 years. Amazing things are coming. I mean, I hardly have words to describe the world that it's going to be heaven on earth, is what we're headed into. With the greatest transfer of wealth in human history, on the heels of man's greatest accomplishment, which is eradicating this evil that has been controlling these things. Listen, by now you should, if you've been here for a while, you should all understand how this evil element, these satanic pedophiles, have controlled our world for thousands of years now, since Babylon. Is it such a stretch just think of all the things we know they've done. You think it's a stretch for them to conjure up this rapture story to screw us one more time? To me, it makes a lot more sense than some guy in 1831 just happened to pick something out that people have missed for 2,000 years. Coming from Britain, the country who has stolen trillions of dollars from the United States, who we never got out from under with the Revolutionary War, we're going to find that the United States has been a corporation. We've been paying the UK for over since I think it was 1781 is when we had to file bankruptcy. They've had their claws in us until supposedly June, when President Trump met with the Queen and told her the jig was up. That no more bullshit. That it was over with the Vatican, it was over with the royal family. That we were going to be 100% independent. They were never going to get another dime. And the game was over. If you saw that visit, the things he was doing there were direct insults to the protocol when you meet the Queen. It was done on purpose. There was one deal where, you know, he's supposed to follow the Queen, but he ends up leading and taking her on this crazy I mean, when you hear the backstory, because I saw that originally. I thought, what is he doing? I knew, you could tell he was screwing with her. And she followed along because she was being put in her place. It was him showing the world that he was running the show now. We have nothing to fear from God if we're doing the right things. God doesn't want his people ignorant. God nowhere does he say, don't ever question what people tell you. That's part of I think being a good American and being a good Christian, especially in these times where we know false prophets are coming out of everything. Certainly, it's almost impossible to know the Bible and not see a correlation between the Bible and the things that we're going through right now. But what I'm saying is, God never showed me end times. You all, I think, have to, if you believe in the rapture, I think you need to take a second look at the facts. Go search this stuff out. You know, Google the rapture and the origins of the rapture. Find out for yourself the truth. Google the Council of Nicaea. Learn your Bible history. It'll make these conversations, I think, easier for you. Okay. So unless anybody has any questions on it, this is probably going to be the last time I talk about the rapture, because, again, the only reason I'm talking about it now is because of the false prophet angle, and to illustrate how these things can be manifested to fool us. So, Danielle's asking how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like my blood pressure's up again. Okay, I'm going to move on. Okay. CNN ratings dropped to a 3-year low amid constant impeachment content and coverage. These guys, it gets worse and worse for them. It gets worse and worse. I see some questions, but I'm going to come to them at the end. I also had a conversation with somebody today about Litecoin. And it's funny because the argument that this person gave me was the same argument that I had initially when God showed me Litecoin. And I felt so strongly that I ignored initially this light that God was showing me because I was in my mind thinking the same thing this guy was thinking. Fiat currency. There's no value there. If I would have listened to the message, I'd be a millionaire today. I would have changed my whole investment strategy. I didn't buy Litecoin until I think I was buying silver for over 2 years before I ever bought any Litecoin. If I knew then what I know today, I would have completely flipped. I'd have bought all my Litecoin, and then I'd probably have 4,000 Litecoin that I paid $5 or $6 for a piece. Think about that. Do those numbers. But I was ignorant. That was a big mistake that I made. And finally, after it just kept coming back to me, this light. And finally I said, I better listen to this. And I just ran the numbers. At about 40 numbers, Bitcoin is 7,500 numbers. For the one Bitcoin you get for 75, you 65 Litecoin that many analysts believe is going to be worth $3 million by 2024. I think that number is conservative. Even if you think this is a gamble, you're crazy not to buy every minimum because it will be the best gamble you ever take in your life. And you will regret it if you don't take advantage of this. Again, guys, I've got no dog in this fight. I'm trying to give you the best information I can so that you can make decisions that are going to help you and your family get through what we have coming. There are 84 people in the world. They will never mine 100%. They will never truly get 84 million. They're going to be maybe 5% short. 3 to 5% short probably. But let's just use that number, 85 or 84 million. There are 7.5 billion people in the world. Litecoin is one of the top 3 coins in the world, the least expensive of the top 3, and I believe that within 10 years, Litecoin will surpass Bitcoin in price because it's more. It's the of the 3 top coins, it's the one that's easiest to use for transactions. Less expensive, faster, secure. It fits the bill. Cryptocurrencies are the future of money. Getting in on cryptocurrencies today is like buying Apple stock in 1970. Guys who bought Apple stock in 1970 are billionaires today. People who buy Litecoin today are going to be multimillionaires in 5 years. Don't miss the boat, guys. Don't make the same mistake I did. Our last 2 years, because of the choices I decided to make, financially, we've struggled a little bit. Because I basically spent time doing this work. there's no regrets. It was, uh, but it would have been so much easier if I would have listened to God to the first light. It wouldn't have been such a struggle. So don't make the same mistake I did. I was lucky in that, you know, we're still here. We've got even more Litecoin. Um, but we went through some tough times that we probably didn't have to go through. Don't go through tough times because you didn't see this opportunity. Don't make the same mistake I did. Buy at least a few Litecoin. And I'm the first one to tell you, if you have a more conservative investment strategy, then you should probably buy more silver than Litecoin. I'm 60-40. 60% Litecoin, 40% silver. If you're more conservative, go 60% or 70% silver and Litecoin. You know, if you have, if you're going to be a multimillionaire, uh, point when I tell you guys to get more food, get more ammo, get more Litecoin, get more silver, it's because the more you have, the more you can pay forward. And I can't stress enough how important I think this is going to be, because we're through some pretty tough times, a rough patch when the economy craps out. I don't know if the government's, I mean, President Trump's on top of it. I think he keep things moving. But there's 320 million Americans here. Probably 80% of them don't understand what's coming. It leaves a lot of people unprepared that are going to need help if this thing goes worst case scenario. And that's where we're going to have to step it up, guys. The people that have the means are going to need to step up and pay it forward. And that's what this whole page is about. It's about paying it forward now by sticking our necks out and exposing ourselves to the ridicule, and trying to warn people. It's in this rough patch we're going to go through. It's helping people with food and water that need it when we go through this initial stage. And through the recovery, it's helping people financially if we have the means, because it's going to be a big burden on President Trump and the government. The more people that are prepared, the easier it's going to be for all of us. Pretty simple stuff, guys. Okay, that's everything. Let's see what we got for questions. Yeah, on my end, guys, the video's been perfect. I haven't lost it once. How you guys all doing? Yeah, trust me, Mark. Mark is talking about why I had my stroke. Um, my problem was I just let it build up. Knowing about the pedophilia, knowing what was going on, and just being so um, anxious to get the ball rolling, because every day this continues, there are kids that are being tortured and murdered. Um, and trust me, the president understands this. They're doing this thing as quickly as they can do it without compromising um, the the strength of their legal cases. In other words, you just can't, just because you know what's going on doesn't mean you just go start arresting people. You've got to put together cases because we don't want these people ever walking the streets again. Anybody that's guilty of treason and or murder needs to be executed. They have to make sure that every single one of these cases stick. They have to make sure that from the deep state neutralized. They don't want 10,000 kids to get 2 million Americans murdered with a nuclear bomb somewhere. Uh, uh, it's a very difficult um, road to navigate because you have to really be careful about your path. You got to make sure that you're making the right steps at the right time. And I believe 100% that President Trump is doing this as quickly as he can. And then we've just got to trust in that and hang in there. And I've had to learn how to, although sometimes, tonight may be one of them, where I get too worked up but that's, an hour after the show. What happened before was this thing built up in me for weeks. I could feel it. It was like my blood was boiling before I had the stroke. Weeks before. I didn't even, we never checked my blood pressure once that whole time, that 3 week period, whatever it was. I don't think I was thinking straight. It built up so bad that it was actually, I think, affecting my mental capacity a little bit. Anyway, I've had to learn how to process this better and realize I can't control it. Well, this is when this starts, we can't control, guys. But what we can control is how we reach out to other people. How we get prepared for this, how we try and get other people prepared for it. Those are the things we can control. And that's what I did. I just shifted my focus more to positive than stewing on what's happening to the kids. And I think that's maybe good for all of us right now because it'll eat you up. If you focus too much on it, it'll eat you up. And you don't want that to happen because it's gonna affect how we do our work. And we can't really afford to be off because every person that we help, every person that we get prepared is important. And we got to fight for every last one right up until the end. So keep pushing, guys. Yeah, Q was on Fox. Waters. Yeah, well, that's pretty quick. Uh, Kanye West, I think. Um, if you're just asking in general, I I see nothing wrong with Kanye West. I think probably like a lot of us, um, he's not perfect. I don't see anything phony or fabricated. In fact, you could argue the opposite. He stuck his neck out. Don't he's not taking a hell of a lot of abuse. Being a black man in the entertainment industry, Trump, um, the liberals don't like that, and liberals run the entertainment industry. So you got to give him a lot of credit. And I haven't seen anyone with any kind of evidence that he is some kind of a mole or somehow a deep state plant. I, to me, he looks and sounds authentic, and that he really wants to help what President Trump's doing, and move this country forward in a positive way. So far so good as far as I see for Kanye. Thanks, David. Yeah, and the other thing, guys, is um, we should all be praying every day, um, especially in these times. And to me, it's like when I like this whole rapture deal and prayed about this because I don't want to upset people, but if I don't address these things, I'm not doing my job. So keep an open mind. Well, and so out uh, Kanye, their talk, but could with especially liberals, we have to think critically. We have to question their motives with really anybody right now. My motives. You should be questioning my motives. That's why I always talk about these guys that are monetized and take donations. Because anytime you get money in the mix, that changes behavior. You have to take that into account when you're looking at what these guys are saying. Because here's the biggest trick the deep state has. They'll plant someone like me who's, conservative, Trump backer, Christian, um, who tells you, 90% of the truth, but then angles in this negative stuff on. You see guys do it with President Trump all the time. They'll claim to be conservatives, but then they'll get their digs in on President Trump. No, you don't do that. My position is you never question the President of the United States in times of war. And anyone who doesn't see that we're probably in the biggest war we've ever had. So in the beginning, there was a couple of times I thought President Trump had made some mistakes. And I had to bite my tongue not to talk about it. And then, lo and behold, 2 weeks later, turns out, perfect decision. I didn't have all the information he had. He made the perfect decision. And there's been 2 or 3 times after that that I've kind of in the back of my mind thought, I don't know if this is the right time for this. And again, a month down the road, perfect thing to do. We can't question the president. He is our only option now. What are you going to do? Vote for Bernie? Vote for Warren? Um, there's no other option here, guys. It's all in with President Trump. Now, if I saw something that showed me that things had changed, but listen, there's nothing going to change here. President Trump, I believe, was anointed by God. God has had his hand on President him since before he announced. He's going to serve 2 terms. He's going to go down as our greatest president. He will be credited with saving our constitutional republic and the world. If it wasn't for him, this whole thing is done. The globalists are running the world 100%, and we're in FEMA camps. probably by now, if Hillary Clinton was elected and actually got to take power. Um, the, the the main part of this is over. The globalists are defeated. Look at the face of Schiff. Look at the face of Pelosi. Look at the face of Biden. These last couple of days, they've had some clips of these people. Um, they're panicked. They're scared. They're starting to see that there's no escape from this. They've always had an escape. Some of these people have been around for 30, 40 years. They've been playing these games, their dirty tricks. They never had to worry. It's easy when you've got the DOJ and the FBI in your back pocket and the mainstream media. Not so easy anymore, and it's getting tougher. And you can see the questions from the mainstream media. The mainstream media sees where this is going. Even though they're still controlled, you're starting to see they've got to question some of these things for their own survival. Bottom line is, none of them are going to survive it. Mainstream media is done. CNN, MSNBC, they're done. Most of the newscasters, I think, are going to be done. Look at how many CNNers went to Pedo Island. And I think there's going to be a lot more video coming out of. So, things is moving it along quicker. And the flip side to moving it along quicker is it gives us more opportunity the slower it goes. People red-pilled and prepared. So let's take every day as a blessing. Let's use every day the best we can. Let's get as many people red-pilled between now and this whole thing blows up. Yeah, Epstein didn't kill himself, I know. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is really... these globalists have to be tearing their worked well on the United States plan. And President Trump in less than 3 has they accomplished in those 200 years plus years. Kathleen, Kathleen's ready to be used by God, whatever he gives me. Listen, guys, if you're here on this page, he's calling you to warn everybody you know why you're here. You're here obviously to learn too, but once you learn, he's expecting that you guys are going to go and start worry about. One, again, it's part physical preparation, mental preparation, spiritual preparation. When you understand, listen, we're all going to die someday. That's a what better way to go than doing God's work? Think about it. Um, make a mark in the world. Do something that you can look back on in 25 years and be proud of. Something that your grandkids or great grandkids are going to talk about. This is for people who want to do good. There's no better place in time, in history, to be here. We're here for a reason. We're here because we're that kind of person. That's why we're at the Watchman at this very minute in time. It's just a matter of doing the work now. Yeah, yeah. Supposedly, Lisa's talking about the Bush 41 funeral, and all of the black hats got envelopes. They say what was in the um, what was in the envelope was supposedly a picture of the executed body of Bush 41. They were rubbing their noses in it, supposedly. Did you see the horrified look on Jeb Bush's face? You knew it was something pretty horrible, especially with the God. It's perfect. Exactly what I. Who got an envelope? Remember Mike Pence going down. I think every single person that got an envelope at that funeral is going to be executed, as long as a lot longer list. Okay, guys, my blood pressure is probably through the roof. Um, remember, um, when you're out there, especially in the beginning, as people are getting into this, it sounds very scary. So be as positive and as careful as you can when you're going through this stuff with people. Talk about the unity. That's what's going to get us through this. Um, we always pull together in tough times. This is not going to be any different. It's going to be our greatest moment, I think. We're going to be more united than at any time in our history. It's all good going forward. We just got to hang in there. Get prepared, get ready, get your red pills out. Start using those red pills on your friends and neighbors. There for tonight. Remember, fear not. God and President Trump are 1,000% in control. We'll see you tomorrow night at 5. God bless.